Hi, my name is Lyle Sopel. Welcome to my studio. As you can see, I've got a number of projects on the go here, and I'm going to actually show you what I've been doing lately. I'll demonstrate how I've been working on these pieces and what my intentions are for them. And so this afternoon we've got something really cool to talk about, because it's a great marketing idea that I think every one of you can use, and I'm going to explain it all in detail and how I propose to put it forward, and I'll show you some of the examples that I'm working on. And also I'm going to talk about the one thing that you can do to make sure that you don't have to ever struggle again. But first of all, come over to my workbench and I want to show you what I've been doing with my Ruby project. So last week, I know I was in this very same position with this bird, and I was showing you how I carved and put the beak in place, and this is kind of how it turned out. It was reasonably successful. It's not complete, of course. It's just kind of at the beginnings of the process. And in the end, when I put it all together, I wasn't very happy with it. So I've actually started a few more. So in this case, I got a little excited about, like, what I do when I have a great idea is I kind of jump right into it, and then I plan it as I work through it. And in this case, I was so excited about working with Ruby because I've actually never done a full figurative piece in Ruby before. So I was a little intimidated by it, and intimidated by actually the structure of the stone and by the value. So it kind of made me take a second look at it, because I wanted to work with what I have. And as a gemstone artist, that's what I really need to do. I have to look at what the materials are and really kind of apply my imagination to what I have. But in this case, it just was a little bit too thin, and I'm doing a cardinal, so I'm actually doing two cardinals. So what I wanted to do is start again. So that's what I've done. I've now got a much more robust kind of bird, and I'm not inhibited now. I've done it, I've made my mistake, and I'm going to move on to the next thing. So I'm working on a much more robust and fuller kind of a bird that I'm happier with. So the tail is going to fit like so, and this will be drilled and mounted in there. And then over here, I have a beak that's made out of agate. So we've got a lovely combination here of the reds, the black, and the agate beak. So I will be carving the eye in there, and then of course the piece will all be detailed with a feather pattern, much the same as this is. And so it's the three combinations. So what I did, as you can see in this bird, is I've literally just carved out the section that I want to have colored, and then I've carved a piece to fit in there. And I demonstrated that last week by you color the inside surface and you keep applying the outside to it. When you get a colored match on that surface, then you grind it until it fits, and so on. So it goes on until you get your fit, and then it's glued and pinned. Now these birds are actually going to be mounted on this base here, which has the reeds, and this bird is going to be very, very cool. I'm really excited about how this one's looking. But he's going to sit right up here on this leaf with his tail coming down. So really hard to see at this point because it's just all in pieces, but that's the way. And so I'm going to have two of them on this structure. So one of the things that has occurred to me while I've been doing this Ask Lyle and these visits to my studio is that I've got a lot more to share than actually the technical aspect of what I do. Now there's the real insights, and you probably have heard this a few times from me talking about more of the psychology of being successful. And I think that's the real essence of what I'm trying to share. And the more I work at this, the more I realize that the truth to success really happens in here, not out here. And it's not in the outside world at all, it's in your mind. And I can think of an example of myself when I thought that, I worked as an artist in my own studio for a long time, and I was really relaxed with the whole idea. And I remember we'd have beer Fridays, and so all my friends would come over with their beer, and we'd sit around and drink beer on Fridays. And so my studio was pretty relaxed, but sometimes Wednesdays became Fridays. And so you kind of get the idea that I wasn't pretty serious about the work I was doing. And my work really didn't change. It was just kind of all stayed the same over that period of time. But then at some point I looked around and I thought, these guys that I'm hanging out with aren't really serious. So I must not be serious as well. So I made a decision at that point to change. And I decided that I wanted to become a world-class artist. And that's what I kept in my mind. I kept that in my forefront, and I worked that way, and I left my friends behind, and I worked forward to my goal, and I kept that goal as the really driving force behind what I wanted to achieve as an artist. Just to give another example, I was visiting someone the other day, really beautiful artist, a really beautiful artist, and she was telling me that, I'm not a true artist yet because I haven't sold any art. Did you ever wonder, when you look at some people's art in galleries and they're selling and they're making a lot of money, and other people are really struggling and they're not making any money, but their art is much better than anything you might have seen in any other gallery, anywhere. Well, I'll tell you what she kept telling me while she was showing me her art. She said, no one will ever buy this. It's so wonderful, but no one will ever buy it because they won't pay me what I need for my art. So what do you think people do? They won't pay her for what she's doing because it's her attitude. It's her attitude toward her art that is causing her the challenge and the difficulty. She can't see beyond her limited perspective of herself. So, that said, I think we all as artists need to have a conscious idea about where we want to go, what we want to have, like I said to myself, and I still keep that as a goal to be a world-class artist. And every time I come to my studio, that's where I go. So I can't change my limited belief about myself. I just create a belief that is bigger than what my limited belief is. So that's where I work from, and that's where I go whenever I step into the studio. So when I started doing this kind of work, I realized that there's so much more I can share, and so much more I can talk about. So next week, I've got a really big surprise, and it's going to be something free for everybody that's paying attention or tuning in to Facebook. So I hope you're all going to be with me next week. It's a great thing. We've been working on this for a really long time, and it can help all of us in our inspiration and improve our work into the future. So let me show you another great idea that I have, and this is a project that involves this piece. Now this is a marketing idea that I want to share with you, and this will be a group of bears that we are going to put together into a catalog. We're going to do a video on, and we're going to present it to our clients that have an interest in my work and collect my work. And so if you are a client and you're watching this would be a great opportunity to watch this whole series of pieces that I'm going to produce. I'm going to produce 8 bears. And the theme around this storyline is going to be something like Sopel's Awakened Bear. And what I want to do is create a storyline around bears that tell the natural story of bears. Like when they awaken from hibernation, what they do, how they feed, where they get their food, what their personality is, and what their antidotes are in relationship to what they are as an animal. And now this came from an idea we had a few years ago when Curtis, my son, and I went on an expedition actually to the grizzly bears of North Vancouver Island. And we went to see them in the wild. And the idea was that we get close enough so that I can, look into their eyes and really see what they are as animals. Because up to that point, I could only see them from a distance and, through either books or from other reference material that I might have gleaned ideas about bears. So this gave me this real sense of, what bears are and what they are in the wild, so we could get close enough. And so I wanted to bring that idea back into this series of pieces. So what we're going to do is create a story. We're going to produce 8 pieces, and then we're going to package these pieces into a brochure and offer them also on the internet. So I want you to stay tuned because we're going to show you exactly how we do this. Now here's the beginnings of the next series. That's number 1. So we have that piece here. And so I always begin my projects with a slight drawing, and so that everybody in the studio here knows what we're working on. So here's a second one. This is a polar bear scene, and we have this one here, up here. So we've started the project and we're going along with this theme. And here's another one. So this is going to be more of a relaxed pose, and you can see how he is as a clay model. And I often make clay models for what I'm working on, and that really helps to understand the form of the piece before we get started. So this is it in jade, and it's probably hard to really understand that it's jade because it's still quite rough, but that's the idea. It's going from the clay to the jade. So we have a couple of them done already, and it's all coming along fine. So these pieces will be created, put aside, photographed, and then presented to the clients. And so in the next few weeks, I'm going to show you how we're going to present these to the clients. So we're going to make a package, and you're going to see how we organize this on the internet, how we organize it in printed matter, and how we present it to the clients, how we even price it, and how we relate to the clients that are interested in it. So I think you'll all really gain a great deal from this idea, and so I hope you stay tuned to follow that up. And so there's one more piece that we're working on here I can show you, and I think this one's really kind of cool too, because it's all jade, but it's also, one of my favorite things here is made up of multiple pieces of different colors of jade. So in this case, it's going to be a Canada Goose pair. So we've got 2 of them coming along. And I'm using a quartz base that's going to be a really strong accent. So this gets some idea of how this piece is going to be coming along as well. Not a lot of finished work in the studio today, but many pieces in process. And this is how I like it, actually, so I can move from one thing to another thing. And always staying active and inspired by all the different possibilities that there are for these things. So here's an example of the black jade that these will be put on. The necks will fit into this, the black and the green. Okay, so I look forward to having you all present with me next week, and look forward to sharing my big surprise with you, and talk more about the marketing story behind the bear projects that we're working on. So we'll have more progress on that, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. So bye for now.